adoption of the constitution. At a time when the country's ruling coalition and the opposition are in a bitter face-off over the constitution itself. Lok Sabha and Assembly elections are being fought on the issue, and naturally the political fight cast a shadow on the celebrations. President Draupadi Murmu and Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar addressed Parliament on Tuesday.
हम भारत के लोगों ने इस संविधान को अपनाया, अधिनियमित किया और आत्मार्पित किया था.
However, what became the talking point from the noble occasion was not their wise words. The BJP accused the leader of opposition of disrespecting Draupadi Murmu, the first Adivasi president of the country. The BJP and Congress held separate events to mark Samvidhan Divas, where both accused each other of harming the constitution.
कुछ लोगों ने और विशेष करके एक पार्टी ने संविधान की मूल धारा, मूल स्पिरिट, आत्मा पर एक बार नहीं अनेकों बार चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश की और इस संविधान को तोड़ने का भी प्रयास हुआ, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं.
मैं आपको गारंटी देकर कह रहा हूं कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने इस किताब को नहीं पढ़ा है. इसमें कहीं लिखा है कि किसी व्यक्ति को मारना चाहिए, डराना चाहिए, काटना चाहिए? कहीं लिखा है इस किताब में? इस किताब में लिखा है कि झूठ का प्रयोग कर कर सरकार चलानी चाहिए.
At the Congress event, party president Mallikarjun Kharge cast doubts on the election process and called for a return to ballot paper.
हमको EVM, PVM कुछ नहीं, हमको होना बैलेट पेपर पे वोट बस. जैसा भारत जोड़ो यात्रा निकाले वैसा ही ये पेपर, बैलेट पेपर हमको चाहिए.
In the evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke in the Supreme Court. He called the Constitution a living document that changes with time to meet aspirations of people.
जिस पीरियड की बात बाबा साहब कहते थे वो बहुत ही अहम है. वो जानते थे कि आजाद भारत की और भारत के नागरिकों की जरूरतें बदलेगी. इसलिए उन्होंने हमारे संविधान को महज कानून की एक किताब बनाकर नहीं छोड़ा, बल्कि इसको एक जीवंत, निरंतर प्रवाहमान धारा बनाया. बीते 10 वर्ष.
The Prime Minister made a brief reference to emergency and ended with a tongue-in-cheek remark.
मैं संविधान ने मुझे जो काम दिया है, मैंने उसी मर्यादा में रहने का प्रयास किया है. मैंने कोई एंक्रोचमेंट की कोशिश नहीं की है, क्योंकि संविधान ने मुझे वो काम कहा, इसलिए मैंने अपनी मर्यादाओं को संभालते हुए अपनी बात को रखा है. यहाँ तो इशारा ही करना होता है, ज्यादा कुछ कहने की जरूरत नहीं होती है.
The government and opposition at odds, the executive and judiciary jostling at the same time, swearing by the Constitution. The Constitution surely has stood the test of time and has been a guiding light for a modern India. Bureau Report, India Today.
And it's also on Constitution Day, where a full-fledged face-off between the government and the opposition is taking place on the Constitution. So is Samvidhan in khatra? Kya Samvidhan khatre mein hai? Is the Constitution in danger? That's the question we're going to pose to our panelists this evening. Joining me is G. Kumar Nayak, ex-IS and Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha Congress; Syed Zafar Islam, National Spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party; Sushmita Deb, TMC MP. To begin with you, Mr. Nayak, you know, the fact that the Congress, ever since the Lok Sabha election, has maintained Samvidhan khatre mein hai. Many would suggest, Mr. Nayak, that the Maharashtra election verdict has pretty much settled the debate whether the people think Samvidhan khatre mein hai ki nahi. Question.
It's not very clear.
Can you hear me?
Audio is not very clear.
All right, we're going to try and rectify that audio with G. Kumar Nayak from the Congress party. But Syed Zafar Islam, even today, there are multiple charges that come in from the opposition, be it the Congress, be it the other allies of the India alliance, that the Bharatiya Janata Party is constantly in a confrontational federalism mode when it comes down to, state level politics, and has made sure that the constitution of this country is belittled, even though the Prime Minister today did go and made it very clear that constitution is the guiding light.
The Honorable Prime Minister, Preeti ji, the Honorable Prime Minister has made a very clear statement inside the Parliament, for earlier Parliament, for that what the Constitution means for us. But one has to really understand what Congress is up to. Congress is only using Constitution to convey certain points which suits them. They carry Constitution everywhere, but they do not follow Constitution. The Honorable Prime Minister is following the Constitution, and what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has made a statement that the Honorable Prime Minister doesn't know and has not read the Constitution is something which is uncalled for, because he must have read not once, many times, and he follows it to the T. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi carries the Constitution where inside there is nothing but blank paper. So there is a difference between him and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, because Rahul Gandhi preaches something which he doesn't practice. And the Honorable Prime Minister practices what he preaches. So it is a certain issue as far as in the eyes of the people of this great country. Nobody buys his argument. Nobody values his argument.
But it's not just, Syed Zafar Islam, it's not just his argument. It's been a concerted affair, by the India Alliance to say that there are 5 major patterns to the government's undermining of Constitution. Whether it comes down to the federal structure, whether it comes down to the fiscal centralization, whether it comes down to obstruction of state programs, destabilizing state governments, misuse of governors, subverting the rights of states, or even amending the Constitution. And 3 amendments have been done in your term itself. But I'll come right back to that question. Let me also bring in G. Kumar Naik, if he can hear me back, the Congress spokesperson. Mr. Naik, it might have worked in Lok Sabha, therefore a question mark on whether people actually thought that the constitution of the country was in danger. But many would suggest that the mandate of Maharashtra has settled that debate, where the people don't really think that Samvidhan khatre mein hai.
What about the Jharkhand result? It has given a different result altogether. So the question of election result deciding what we are trying to communicate is not correct. Right now, what you pointed out are very relevant. The federalism is under threat. The fiscal relation between the center and the state is under threat. The way the laws are enacted is totally one-sided. We can call this as a kind of a formal democracy. The kind of bulldozing that is done in the parliament, it squashes all kind of debate and no dissent. This is unfortunate. In these aspects that we are calling this the constitution to be under threat. It is not that the particular election will decide what the behavior of the ruling party. We are highlighting the basic structure of the constitution and the behavior of the ruling party contrary to the basic structure. That is why the Samvidhan khatre mein hai.
Sushmita Dev, you've had a blow-hot, blow-cold relationship where the India Alliance is concerned, where your party comes into question. Of late, there seemed to be a thaw in the confrontation with the centre, where the TMC government in Bengal comes into question. But you've always maintained, the party's always maintained that there has been a confrontation where federalism is concerned and the government seemingly misusing its power, which is against the constitution. Does the party still hold that stand?
Absolutely. There is no 2 ways about it. It is the constitution that categorically upholds a hybrid form of federal structure in this country. And I think India as a nation can only progress if the states thrive. So from cooperative federalism, the narrative which Mr. Modi pushed very hard as the chief minister, he has completely decimated it since he became the prime minister. You see, interference of the central government in state subjects and the fact that you deprive a government in which you are not in power, a state in which you are not in power, is totally against the constitution. And may I say that as we speak, we have a state which is in the midst of a constitutional crisis like Manipur. And we have seen that this government is only carrying on and letting the crisis in Manipur carry on to save their own government. If it was any other party's government in Manipur, by now what the government of India would have done or the steps they would have taken would have been totally different. So if you can't protect states, if you can't protect the peace and security of states, if you can't protect the sanctity of a democracy in a state, if you can't respect the will of a chief minister in a state and their vision, that is a government that is not a confident government, that is an arrogant government. And it is absolutely unconstitutional. And if I may add to the entire list, which you yourself read out before I joined the debate, where's the freedom of the press? I think if as a pillar of democracy, if any damage has been done, the greatest damage has been done to media, to institutions like Election Commission of India, the RBI, the ED, the CBI. Everything has become a tool in the hands of this government. So Prime Minister may choose to go to Supreme Court and give a monologue. He has the right. He was invited there. But I think this government brings up emergency inside Parliament and outside Parliament. But what we have in this country is an undeclared emergency. That's a fact, whether we like it or not.
Syed Zafar Islam, the charge is you wear a charade where you say that the constitution is your guiding light, but every move of the government has been unconstitutional. And, you know, we pointed out a number of charges which the opposition has made, and Sushmita Deb now adding to it.
Pritiji, let me ask you a very simple question. If the opposition says X or Y, does it mean that whatever they are saying is true? If they feel that we have violated the constitution, where should they go? First, they should go to the court, a court of law, then people's court. They have not approached the court of law, and people's court have rejected them because these charges are baseless, malified, and it is intentional, just to give a bad name to our government. Where we have violated the constitution? We have followed everything. It is just they used to Article 356. They used to they have used many times to break the government, to bring down the government. But we have never invoked such an article, purely because we allow every state government, which has been chosen by the people, to function independently, and we follow the cooperative concept of cooperative federalism to the T. Unlike these people, if you do a back testing, Sushmita ji, that's a second. If you do a back testing of Congress party and their rule in India for 60 years, you will realize how many times they have invoked it. An elected government has been actually brought down by the Congress party, the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and for that matter many other Prime Ministers, purely because they didn't toe the line. Today, we allow every state government to function. She is from TMC. TMC government is there for the last 15 years. But did we really use even though there are so many charges against them? Yet we have not used Article 356, basically to bring down their government. Even though we do not agree in terms of the state of affairs, what they are pursuing.
All right, Sushmita Deb wants to come in, but Sushmita Deb, the charge can be that the government has used an authoritarian playbook, but actually to be unconstitutional is a charge which really can be said it's unsubstantiated, because primarily, even if there have been changes, if there have been laws that have been made, it's by following the due process of the constitution.
Preeti, the recent Supreme Court judgment on demolition speaks volumes about the way this government acts. I mean, the number of journalists that have been arrested and put away under UAPA gives us a bad name. Look at our rating on freedom of media and press. Apart from that, if mandate is everything, then my friend in the BJP should say that everything they say against Bengal is false because they've had a crushing defeat in the by-election and the Lok Sabha. See, I will tell you something. When it comes to right to life, when it comes to right to liberty, when it comes to freedom of speech, you know that there is an atmosphere of fear in this country. Today, for opposition parties, opposition which I mean vis-a-vis BJP, it is difficult to function. There is violence in Tripura when you go to campaign there. Assam is infamous for, encounters. Today see what's happening in Sambal. See what's happening in Sambal. When it comes to the Waqf bill, see what the standing committee is saying, that they are being bulldozed. Today, bill after bill is passed in parliament without proper debates. A budget is passed in, less than 10 minutes. Today, standing committees have become defunct. Parliament has become a mockery. Now, everything, you say, go to the court, go to the court. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but it was not a nice feeling for me as an individual to see the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice of India celebrating Ganesh Puja together. It was not a very comfortable feeling to see that. It's never happened.
All right, okay, that's the point. But that's the fine line. Sushmita Dev, that's the fine line, because many would say it might be uncomfortable, but that doesn't make it unconstitutional. But Syed Zafar Islam wants to answer. I'll go to Mr. Naik right after that. Mr. Naik, just allow him to answer, because there are two of you. It's 2:1. Allow him to come in. Syed Zafar Islam, I know you want to comment to what Sushmita Dev just said, but there is a point. Look at the latest ruling of the top court of the country where the use of bulldozers is concerned. And when you say they are not going to court, there are multiple pleas right now in court which has charged our government, which is your government, as being unconstitutional.
So let the court decide whether it was constitutional or unconstitutional. It is not for us.
But the court did decide whether bulldozers were in question.
No, the board only lays the...
Okay, go ahead, sir. Make your point.
The process, laid the process that what needs to be followed. They are not against the bulldozer. But bulldozer, when it should be used, is something which the court has very clearly explained. That's all. But away from that, I'm just trying to... she has actually made a statement that many bills are getting passed without deliberation, discussion. Let me ask her. I don't know whether she was a member of parliament when she was in Congress in 2013. Were you a member of parliament at that point?
2014.
Yeah. Till 2014, you were there? 2013, were you a parliamentarian?
Not in 13.
Did you? Okay, so perhaps that's why you are not aware. In one day, Congress has passed several bills without discussion in seconds. You never made any statement about it. Why? Was it constitutional, non-constitutional, unconstitutional, or what? It should not be debated, discussed, or spoken because Congress has done it? Come on, there should not be a double standard, and you're just following a double standard. If you have a problem with this, the 10-minute discussion, you should be the first person to point out that Congress passed several bills without discussion, with nobody around, within seconds. Not once, many bills have they passed in 2013. I think I must tell you to go back and do a back testing of what happened during 2009.
That's also a leading question where your government, or when you were in government was concerned and your party is concerned. Okay, make your point, sir. Quickly make your point. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So second thing, we want every bill to be discussed on the floor of the parliament. That is the parliament is for. Must discuss. But when you have the intention to just disrupt the parliament and you want to behave irresponsibly, what one can do? Because legislation has to be made. The bill has to be passed.
Okay. The leading question is where your party comes into focus, you bear the infamy of what is called the most unconstitutional day in the annals of Indian history, and that is emergency. And you were not, the charge also the number of bills that were passed during your own term, which many would say were without discussion.
How far would you like to go back in history? I think we need to be very clear that we are talking about present day and today, what's happening to this country, we need to be very clear.
Oh my God,
so we have a number of cases which are still in the,
Mr.
still in
Islam,
the
please
court
allow
cases.
him. Go ahead, Mr. Naik, make your point.
I'm just saying that
Many of
he's
these
saying
laws
that
which have been
I'm
passed by this
committed a
government
sin.
are still in the court.
Long backward is not a
CAA is
sin. It was
still
not a sin.
awaited.
Sir, allow
Article
him to
14 has
talk.
been-
Can I just get Mr. Naik? Go ahead, Mr. Naik, make your point.
Article 14 has been challenged and CAA, the Supreme Court is yet to deliver the judgment. Another important thing which hit at the Constitution is that of electoral bonds. Today, as we are aware, after quite a thing happened and there has been a demolition of electoral process, the electoral bonds have been found to be unconstitutional. Who has to be held responsible for this kind of an act? Similarly, the bulldozer justice, already the TMC spokesperson has told, the separation of powers has to be very clear. Is it not apparent that some of the state governments are being allowed to be a judge, jury, and executioner in their own case? How can we be oblivious to this fact? Many of the states are following that as a prime example of running this country. It is completely anti-constitutional. And coming to the aspiration of the Constitution is to reduce the economic inequality and promote social justice. As we are seeing today, the economy is going in a direction where economic power and assets are being concentrated in a very few percentage, very limited number of people in this country. This is going against the aspirations of this Constitution. Hence, the Constitution is khatre mein hai. It's not a unidimensional aspect.
Dr. Islam, let me remind you, let's hark back to the pre-Lok Sabha era. Many would suggest, and there was enough anecdotal evidence that because there was a brute majority you were going into Lok Sabha elections with, the entire concept of Samvidhan khatre mein hai didn't really stem from the opposition or India alliance. It came from your very own, where your own party members went out campaigning and said that if we get 370 or 400, we will change the constitution. And that is what was later picked up. So the apprehensions when it comes down to unconstitutional acts have stemmed possibly from what really went down during that period. Dr. Islam, that's for you.
Can I just repeat it, please? Because
so, the question was, if you go back to pre-Lok Sabha period, your very own leaders, because you had that kind of majority, went out on campaigning saying we will change the constitution and giving various examples. Be it the GST bill and a number of other examples, be it the farm laws which were taken back. It came from your own. This is what the opposition picked up on when they said Samvidhan khatre mein hai. They didn't make this up on their own.
No. See, you have to listen to what the Honorable Prime Minister has stated time and again. But you are picking one statement for somebody has made somewhere and you are making as the proof for the advocating what the opposition was advocating during the general election, which was absolutely baseless and it was not true. The fact that we have clarified time and again, the Honorable Prime Minister has said many times that we have no such intention. It is absolutely wrong to make this kind of allegation against our government. But yet, did they listen to Prime Minister? They went on and on and on that we are trying to change the constitution, which was never the case. And that's why today the befitting reply they have got in Haryana, they've got a befitting reply by the people of this great country, and particularly I'm talking about Maharashtra, that showing constitution will not work because they know that it is a baseless allegation.
But Dr. Islam, it might have lived its political life, but we did point out, of what we spoke of earlier. It's not that, there are not battles which are fought in court. The Supreme Court did strike down electoral bonds by saying that it was unconstitutional.
See, if Supreme Court has taken a decision, if something has been made by the government, something like this bond issue, fine. If the Supreme Court
call it unconstitutional, Dr. Islam.
No, but if they had I still feel that it brought transparency Congress was accepting cash for years together. This brought transparency because you had all the details in front of you.
But sir, that doesn't quite take away from it being unconstitutional.
It was not unconstitutional.
The Supreme Court struck it down on the basis of it being unconstitutional, Dr. Islam.
No, it is not. That's what I'm saying, that it was for the purpose of bringing transparency. It did bring transparency when the people were donating to the political parties. But if the Supreme Court had different view, we accepted it. If the Supreme Court will have a view on something else, we will accept it. But the Congress party who was accepting cash for years together are the ones who never spoke about the bringing transparency. If we have brought something and which was only for the intention to bring transparency, and it says if the Supreme Court had controversy, so we just respected it.
Now, let me give you another example, which at that point of time, the West Bengal government had taken a lot of offense on, and I will bring in Sushmita Deb into this conversation. In this conversation.
And mind it, Preeti ji.
Go ahead.
They have all accepted money through this bond.
All right,
process.
I'll take that question to Mr. Nayak and Sushmita Deb, but let me take you back to the other move, which because I'm going, because there is a charge of confrontational federalism, especially which violates the constitution, which comes in from a lot of regional parties, and to take you back on a move which was deemed unconstitutional by the then West Bengal government was when the Prime Minister tried to interfere in the working of the 14th Finance Commission, pressurizing what the West Bengal government says, the chairman, to reduce the state share of central taxes from 42% to 33%. This was a charge made then.
Who are you asking?
Dr. Islam, the question's for you.
See, we have done everything as per the constitution.
Okay.
If these people are making allegations purely because they wanted to make it a political issue. But we have not done anything, whether it's a bond, whether it's any other issues. They have the right to go to Supreme Court. If Supreme Court delivers a judgment which is contrary to what the government intended to do, then of course we can discuss and debate and what was the intention of the government. The intention of the government was always...
Dr. Islam, I'm going to bring in Sushmita Deb because we'll also come down to then, the political slugfest on the lines of whether it's constitutional, unconstitutional, the top court stepping in, when it came down to the Delhi versus the LG or Delhi wanting statehood and how, the centre stepped in there. We're going to come down to that. But Sushmita Deb, you have made it very clear that the government right now in its functioning is unconstitutional. But many would also say that, maybe not for your government, but successive electoral defeats makes the opposition make these or level these allegations.
You see, victory and defeat in electoral politics has nothing to do with the way the government functions. It has nothing to do with it. Today, elections has many local factors, maybe some national factors. It's about which party has how much of organizational strength. These days, everybody has agencies to deal with their elections. So I think to say a mandate is equal to the fact that it's an endorsement of everything that the government is doing is wrong. And you yourself gave an example of the Farm Bill, where the Prime Minister or the government of India had to roll it back after the opposition, so all MPs were suspended. There was chaos and mayhem inside Parliament, and this government just would not relent and eventually had to, bite the bullet and take it back. See, what happens is we understand that a mandate is about numbers, and they have the numbers inside the Parliament to pass any law if there is a 3-line whip from a party. No one can change that. But that doesn't mean that everything that the BJP members of Parliament with their majority and now which has been lessened passes is necessarily the right thing to do. It is not. Today there has been a judgment even on the Kashmir issue on Article 370. But let me tell you something, to push something through when there is no assembly in place, no elected assembly in place, these are against the basic constitutional values. It is not about just article this and article that. When the Prime Minister says, "Aapka Mangal Sutra chheen lenge," or Kabristan on this and that, now don't you think that that goes against right to equality? That we are all equal in this country and we cannot be castigated for our religion and what we practice? So there is constitutional provisions and then there are constitutional values, Preeti. Everything can't be challenged in court.
Okay. But Mr. Nayak, from taking off that there are constitutional values doesn't really make it unconstitutional. You can call it authoritarian, and a classic example is of what the Supreme Court possibly ruled, when it came down to services of the administrative civil services in the national capital, that the Delhi government could make laws limiting the role of the LG. It was overturned by an ordinance. It all happened through the course and the process of the Constitution.
Yeah, this is called as a typical formalism. Formally, we are correct. We have passed all the laws in the legislature. But if it goes against the constitutional spirit, then that can be termed as an anti-constitutional step of the union government. For example, unity in diversity is celebrated by this constitution, wonderful document of ours. But every step of this union government seems to be going against that. One nation, one election, one nation, one language, one nation this, one nation that. This kind of a homogenization of this diverse culture of this country goes against the spirit of the Constitution. That is why time and again we are saying it's not just of this particular section or that one. It is the fundamental character of this country, this character of this Constitution, which is being attacked by the union government, by its acts. Not only by enactment of certain laws and the way they enact, but their day-to-day activities also clearly point out their disregard for the constitutional values.
It might not be unconstitutional. That's for the courts to decide. We've already touched upon what possibly the court said was unconstitutional. Electoral bonds was one of them. But the charge is you do everything, the charge by the opposition is against the spirit of the document. That might not be unconstitutional formally, but you do everything which leads up to that.
So let me ask you one question. Was emergency constitutional or unconstitutional?
That question was asked, sir. Yes, fair point.
Yeah. So they are just because they are losing time and again, because they have been rejected by the people of this great country. That's why this frustration which is coming out. Now, Sushmita ji was talking about Farm Bill. Farm Bill was only to benefit the farming community. But you became a hostile opposition, united opposition, which worked against the interests of the farmer. We rolled back those bills purely because the farmer felt that because you misled them, felt that it was not for the benefit of the farming community. That's why, since you people had misled them,
it's the other way around.
But otherwise, this was a bill which would have benefited every single farmers in the country. I also was in the parliament at that time and spoken about this bill. I know exactly how it would have benefited them, but unfortunately.
I'm going to give Sushmita Sen 1 minute and then we're going to let her go because we're going to dip into the latest charge which is coming from the Congress at the back of Maharashtra elections of possibly letting go of EVMs. But Sushmita, please answer. You wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that let me set the record straight. We did not mislead the farmers. The farmers community came to the opposition parties to tell us to raise the voice against this draconian dark laws that you passed, and you were scared of losing elections in north of India, and that's why you withdrew the bill, not because you love the farmers. And number two, what I want to say is you have absolutely no justification. You have not said a word on Manipur where there's a constitutional crisis only because you want to continue your party's government there. People are dying there every day. Schools are closed. People are at war, and the central forces are also sacrificing there. People are dying there everywhere, and the Prime Minister hasn't bothered to go there. What is happening in Manipur today is unconstitutional,
Okay.
and the spokesperson of BJP has not said a single word on this, not a single
Dr.
word.
Islam, do come in on that, and thank you, Sushmita, for joining us. Dr. Islam, go ahead.
Allow me to just respond to her. I would request her to listen to this. 1 second, Sushmita ji. I don't know whether you were born in 1992 or you were born and you still recollect what had happened in 1992
It's not like
Manipur.
Congress did this, Congress did that.
No.
Don't look at the past. What do you plan to do as a government? What do you plan to do as a government? Don't tell me 92 what
Sushmita,
happened.
allow Dr. Islam to answer. Dr. Islam, please make your
92.
point.
92, what happened? They didn't send even the Home Minister there. Only the Home Minister of Home went only to have lunch with the then Chief Minister and came back. We, as a party, felt that it is important for the Home Minister to stay there. So, Minister of Home stayed there. What is that to be ashamed of?
Why do you keep talking about the past? What are you doing now?
Because you people are criticizing us without realizing what you've been part of that. You were part of that. You were part of Congress. You were part of that.
Okay,
You are part of that.
Miss Deb, okay, let's all calm down.
only
1 second.
raising
Dr.
fingers.
Islam,
He keeps talking
Dr.
about
Islam.
the past.
Can I just
You
get
have
Dr.
a
Islam?
mandate, you talk.
Okay, Sushmita Dev, we'll ask that question to Dr. Islam. Dr. Islam, the
talking
charges,
about
let's not go
history.
back
Congress did this,
to what
Congress
happened
did
in the 90s or the 80s. Let's look
all
at
I'm
where
saying
we
is-
stand today.
Tell us now, what do you plan to do
Okay.
about Manipur? What's your plan?
Manipur.
Is the Prime Minister going
Okay,
there?
ma'am,
When
allow
Manipur-
him
no,
to
no,
talk.
no,
Come on, allow him to
When
talk.
Manipur was discussed on the floor of the
Again,
parliament,
past?
you disrupted the parliament. We wanted to discuss Manipur. You didn't want to discuss
Which day?
Manipur.
Which day? Give the
Every
date.
time.
Which date?
No. What was discussed in the
date?
Business
Do you know
Advisory
the
Committee?
last
What was?
time?
Yes.
Do you know the last time when a
Yes, I
debate,
do remember.
when a calling attention,
What was discussed
or a
and agreed
debate
in the
was
Business
allowed?
Advisory Committee?
Okay, you know what
Your
I'm going to
party
do
had
is,
agreed.
Sushmita
Your
Dev,
party had
apologize to the
agreed.
people
Yes,
of
let's discuss on the
Manipur.
floor of the parliament.
all right,
But
okay.
first thing
The
you
Prime
did-
Minister did
Don't ask saying,
speak
now
on
you
Manipur
can
on the
say
floor of the House, but ever since, that's what the charge... Okay, you know, Dr. Islam, you're right. The Prime Minister did speak on the floor of the House. He did answer on Manipur, but the charge from Sushmita Dev is also that a lot has happened even post that. And what the opposition is asking was on a visit by the Prime Minister where Manipur is concerned, and there's a constitutional crisis.
It is
brewing.
it is the responsibility of the Home Minister. He's working day and night to ensure there is a peace.
Okay,
And
fair point. All right.
something we have been
Sushmita
able to
Dev,
achieve at
appreciate
the
you joining us. Thank you for joining us on this debate. What I'm going to do right now, because on the sidelines of Samvidhan Khatre mein hai ki nahi, there is another debate now brewing, which concerns the Samvidhan and the constitution of this country, because the Congress today has made a claim which has been made in the past, and that is raise a question mark on the efficacy of the EVMs. All of this after the Maharashtra poll debacle for the Mahavikas Aghadi. Listen into Mr. Kharge.
हमको ईवीएम पीवीएम कुछ नहीं, हमको होना बैलेट पेपर पे वोट बस। उनको वो मशीन उनके घर में तो रख लेने दो, या मोदी साहब के घर में रहने दो, या शाह के घर में रहने दो। अगर किसी गोडाउन में, अहमदाबाद में बहुत से गोडाउन बने हैं, वहां ले जाके रख लेने दो, हमको बस पेपर पे करो। और आपको मालूम होगा उस वक्त तुम्हारी हालत क्या है, कहां खड़े हो, उस वक्त आपको मालूम होगा। तो मैं ये अपने पार्टी के तरफ से एक मुहिम शुरू करना चाहिए। सभी लोगों को कहना चाहिए, सभी पार्टियों को भी हम कहेंगे, और राहुल गांधी जी के नेतृत्व में जैसा भारत जोड़ो यात्रा निकाले, वैसा ही ये पेपर, बैलेट पेपर हमको चाहिए।
Mr. Naik, you know, the curious case of the EVM is that for the Congress and the opposition, all is well during the Lok Sabha, where you do exceedingly well. All is well in Maharashtra Lok Sabha, where the Congress did exceedingly well. All is well in Karnataka, in Telangana with the EVMs, but everything changes In Haryana, because you face a crushing defeat. Everything changes in Maharashtra, where you face a humiliating defeat. EVMs can't be right when you want them to be right, and then completely off when it doesn't suit you.
No, this kind of a complaint would arise from ground. It is not out of thin air. If we realize, if we move around in the ground, and if the mood is different, if the response of the people is that that particular party is winning, we can definitely make it out. If there is a tsunami, one can easily sense it. But if it is to the contrary, and if the results come out in a totally different way, and the machines are suspect, a number of cases where the batteries are charged up to 99%, even at the day on the day of counting, all these things lead to a kind of suspicion, which is not good for democracy. So if we're tending towards an opinion where the ballot papers would be better option than the EVMs, where there is a lack of trust, why not go back to this paper ballot?
Mr. Naik, along with being a member of parliament for the Congress, you're also an ex-IAS officer. And I would reckon you'd know better than I that the reason that we moved from the ballot paper to the EVM was practically to figure and to end the entire controversy which came in on manipulating elections on ballot papers. You know that better than I, sir.
See, no system can be completely foolproof, but definitely ballot paper would be a better option, because there is no electronic systems, no programs, no storage of EVMs in go-downs and pre-programming. All these things are not there in a simple ballot paper. People are able to trust that. They have done it for a number of years, and it is easy to conceive, easy to understand how the things are happening there. But in an electronic machine, it is always susceptible. We know that our money gets lost just like that in the electronic financial transactions, which are supposed to be absolutely foolproof. This kind of a lack of trust is what is not good for democracy. If we feel that we are going to get better appreciation of the results by going for the ballot paper, why not? What is wrong with that?
All right, Dr.
Even
Islam.
the best of the countries,
best
of the countries,
okay,
the
Dr.
most
Islam,
developed countries in this world,
let's
using
bring in Dr.
papers.
Islam.
To
end the entire, to end the entire controversy over EVMs, the opposition says if there's so much faith that you have in winning elections and the people, what's wrong in moving from the EVMs to ballot paper?
See, this kind of debate is, I would say, useless. And it's just wasting everyone's time, because they have always accepted the mandate when people have given them the mandate. But when the people didn't give them the mandate, at that point in time, they just blame EVM. In Haryana last time, how many seats they had won? That time they didn't blame EVM. In general election in Maharashtra, how many seats they won? Congress actually won more than anybody could have imagined. Yet you didn't blame EVM. But today, when you have lost, you are blaming EVM. I think they need to introspect.
Okay.
And they need to understand that what is good for the democracy and what is good for Congress party.
Many would also say
maybe EVM is not good for Congress party, but good for the democracy.
This is the crutch of a sore loser, because with what we pointed out, it's all well and fine when you're doing well, and suddenly the EVM develops a snag and there's a problem, the election is rigged when you're not doing well. And the sad part, Mr. Naik, is also that today there are multiple petitions which have been struck down by the Supreme Court, the same court that you were quoting on, Constitution. Also, let me add to it, the sheer fact that we do not have a TMC spokesperson on this is because most of your allies, especially regional parties who won elections in their states, actually feel there's nothing wrong with EVMs.
One is entitled to their opinion. So this is what the party's view is. Over a period of time, if there is a lack of trust in this, the electronic voting machines, why do we persist with that? Many countries, big, large democracies, developed countries have resorted to ballot papers. They have not been with the electronic voting machines. Why are we so insistent upon using EVMs? Electronics is not easy to understand. It is possible to manipulate. It can be manipulated. And that is the situation. Why do you give rise to this kind of a doubt? Why don't we get back to simple
Dr.
ballot
Islam,
papers?
end the debate for once and for all, especially, if there's so much confidence that the BJP has, and look at the current numbers. It's been a rout in Maharashtra. And the question which is raised by Mr. Naik is many developed countries, even the United States of America is not entirely dependent on EVMs. Most of, the voting happens on ballot paper there.
If you make this kind of allegation, you should also prove them. When the Election Commission invited them, all the political parties, to actually show Election Commission how it can be manipulated, none of them turned up. Congress didn't turn up at all. Some political parties did turn up, but they failed miserably in front of ECI officials. So when they had the opportunity, they didn't turn up, and today they are making allegations. So everyone knows that it's just when they lose, they make EVM that we have manipulated EVM, and when they win, then EVM
it is not a standalone charge.
No.
This is not a standalone charge.
Even in Supreme Court judgment, when the Supreme Court delivers a judgment which is favorable to opposition parties, then they welcome it. And when that is not
Mr. Naik,
favorable
because,
to them,
on the other side of this debate, you quoted multiple Supreme Court rulings, one of them being election bonds when it comes down to being unconstitutional means. But the same Supreme Court, look at it, on Constitution Day, has struck down a plea which questioned the efficacy of EVMs.
EVMs is not just a standalone issue. Challenging somebody to come and prove that, no, this can be manipulated is not the only way to understand the problem. It is the way the BJP government has been overtaking the institutions across the country, different institutions. I would not like to name at this point of time. So every institution which is conducting election or is associated with election is under the grip of the ruling party. If that is also coupled with an electronics voting machine, which cannot be understood by a common man, then it is not a proper thing for the democracy's growth in trust and confidence in democratic elections. So it is better to go back to what common man understands, and so that if at all a person is voting, he votes physically and which he can experience while doing so. This electronic voting machine is not experiential at all.
Okay.
For a common man who is not educated, not having knowledge of electronics, you cannot really sell this idea of...
All right, but Dr. Islam, I think one thing that all political parties will be on board with is electoral transparency. If a move to ballot paper enables that, then why not?
see, transparency we always welcome. So that's why when I said that when the Election Commission had invited them, they should have turned up and proven the Election Commission wrong, that this can be manipulated, but they didn't. When the people rejected them, then they said that democracy khatre mein hai.
You know, I'm
And
gonna.
the democracy khatre mein nahi when they win. So this kind of a statement, this kind of allegation, this kind of statement coming from opposition parties, nobody will buy those arguments because
And
they
you know, one of the reasons, Mr.
we have
Naik,
rejected them.
that
We have
people
rejected
don't buy the argument, and I'll give you an example, and it's a bit of introspection that the Congress party needs to do, because A, regional parties aren't on board. You said that's their own business. Okay, it's their own business. But I'll give you an example. Right before 2024 Lok Sabha elections, Mr. Naik, the Congress had gone to town, made EVMs and the VVPATs a focal point of dissent before general elections, igniting a debate on it, where it actually came to a crucible. Possibly the Congress party could have rejected the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. They decided to go through it. They got results which seemingly were favorable to them, especially in states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, where you faced a recent drought, and you were okay with it. So if you wanted to, then put your money where your mouth is, reject elections. You never did that then.
No, it is not such a black and white scenario as you can really appreciate. It is not that I'll be able to pinpoint this particular election has been manipulated in this manner and so many votes have been manipulated. This kind of a scientific accuracy of trying to call the bluff is not possible in this way. Even if you call somebody before the Election Commission, ask them to check the machine and prove that it can be manipulated, it's not easy. I'm telling you that there are a number of factors which are involved in manipulating an election result.
Please answer,
it is not
then you're
just
going to
the
close the
machine.
bulletin. Let Dr. Islam come in, sir. 10 seconds. Dr. Islam, go ahead.
Preeti ji, the Indie bloc, which we also call Gamandia bloc, asked the several representatives of several parties. They all are they are not.
No, you're right, because that's one of the main reasons why we did not have a TMC spokesperson, because I'm sure Mamata Banerjee would think everything is working superbly well with the EVM. She swept the by-polls. The Aam Aadmi Party would be saying all is well because they've done well in the by-polls where Punjab is concerned. And I'm only talking about recent elections. So the India Alliance not on the same page. What's going to come off the question on EVMs? We'll know in days to come, especially where the Congress charge is concerned. A quick break. Stay with us on the other side. Gaurav Sawant.
जाओगे कैसे?
हेलो, मैं आ रहा हूँ। भगा कर ले जाऊंगा।
सिक्योरिटी! भाग गए, पकड़ो उनको! हेलो!
बोला था ना, भगा कर ले जाऊंगा।
एक हिंट तो देते?
हिंट?
बड़े आराम से।
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
जमाने से हटकर बेबाक है मेरा सिग्नेचर। सिग्नेचर फाइनेस्ट cardamom seeds, a premium product from Dilbar Group.
हो जा रंगीला रे with Motorola's incredible range of smartphones.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Clash in NCP over clock election symbol, Sharad Pawar files new petition in Supreme Court. Ministry of External Affairs issues statement on arrest of ISKCON monk Chinmay Krishna Das in Bangladesh, says, we are peacefully protesting against the arrest of Chinmay Das. Eknath Shinde resigns as Chief Minister of Maharashtra to remain acting CM until new government is sworn in.
Results Day viewership super smash.
How elections have to be fought in India against a party as powerful as the BJP.
A phenomenal victory. It's not a small victory.
India Today TV is twice all our rivals combined. Live viewership destroys claims. Total dedication is total domination. Viewers reward the gold standard. Farewell fakers, fixers and fuzzies. Unrivaled, unmatched, unbeatable. India's true #1 channel, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales